Welcome back, Black man. What's up? If it's your first time here, welcome to the show. If you're returning, thank you for returning. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And what I like to talk about is healthy habits. Now, this is part two on my series of breaking the silence on the silent killer. And what's that? High blood pressure. All right. This is important for us because we have an issue with knowing sometimes that we're suffering from high blood pressure. And there's really only one way to know for certain if you have it, and that's to measure it. Where I left off on the previous episode, if you haven't seen it, please go and check it out, is talking about the actual blood pressure number. The top number when measured on your blood pressure device is the systolic number. The bottom number when measured on your device is the diastolic number. Those numbers are important. It's important to know what those numbers should be and know what your numbers are. I'm encouraging every man ages 22 and up to start monitoring their blood pressure so that they know where they are throughout early years in their life, so they can have a comparison when they get to the later years in their life or the mid years. And one thing about using those terms, we don't know when the later years in our life actually is. We won't know until we get to the end. So what we want to do is prolong our lifespan so that the later years can be what we assume them to be, which is 70 plus. And I really would like for us to get to a 90 plus expectation. I know it can be done, and the reason I know it is because it's been proven, especially in countries like Japan, where I think they have the highest number of centenarians on the planet. So we can do that too. We just have to get back to listening to our body and taking advantage of the time that we have to take care of ourselves up front so that our older selves can appreciate the life that we were blessed to have. Okay, the next step in breaking the silence is following through. Last week we talked about knowing and understanding what our family health status has been. If you have a grandparent, mother, aunts, uncles that have high blood pressure, what their lifestyles are like, and what they look like in comparison to yours. Okay. And I also talked about making sure you have a device, a monitor. There are several types of monitors. The part of execution that we need you to follow through on is actually getting a monitor. Now you can go on Amazon and go into a store, and you can use one that you might find at a relative's house with their permission, of course. What we need to do is take the 2 minutes twice a day to sit down and see what our blood pressure is. Now, it takes less than 2 minutes for this monitor to run. But when you wake up, as soon as you wake up, you should be taking inventory in your mind. How do I feel? What am I feeling? Think about what you had to eat before going to bed. Hopefully you didn't go to bed immediately after eating, especially if it was a meal that was high in sugar or carbs. Nevertheless, take 2 minutes after you've awakened, you've been upright for at least 5 minutes, breathing, and measure your blood pressure. Okay? The execution piece is getting the blood pressure monitor, then using it. I'm proud of you if you've got it though. If you've already got your monitor and you just haven't been using it, that's a win. We're going to count that as a win. Now, it's important to measure twice a day. It's important to measure twice a day so that you can understand what your body is experiencing, because oftentimes there are no symptoms to experiencing high blood pressure. So that's why this second part of the series is most important. Not most important, but critical. Every step is important. Executing, following through, finding out where I can get a monitor, getting that monitor, and then the next step would be using it. If you can execute, or if you need help with finding a monitor, don't be afraid to ask your general practitioner or someone that you know and trust. Now, if there are any barriers to actually getting your own personal monitor and it's going to take some time, that's okay. I don't know how many stores still have them, but oftentimes you can go into a drugstore, and it's probably not the case everywhere any longer, and use a blood pressure cuff in the drugstore. The problem with using those is they've been used by many people in the public. You don't know if it's been well calibrated, and you have to build familiarity and trust to know that that device is accurate. That's why I highly recommend getting your own blood pressure monitor. There are several types. You can choose whichever works best for your lifestyle, but it is important to follow through on this part because it's going to help you in the following parts of this series. Now, I'm going to go back and harp on the age of beginning. The age of 22 is very important, in my opinion, because now you're legally allowed to buy most legal substances that you need or would like to have a fulfilling life. So you don't need to have alcohol, but if you would like to have alcohol, you're now of age to do that, and you've been of age for at least a year. So if you've started consuming alcohol, you need to know what type of impact is having on your vital organs. And we know for sure, based on studies, what it's doing, but you as an individual sometimes need to see exactly what's taking place. Okay? Measuring your blood pressure, even if it's just once a day, is on the road to an extended, happy, fulfilled life. Because then, once you establish a baseline, you can at least start doing something about it. If you experience high blood pressure immediately, at least you know. Now, one consequence, there are many consequences, but one consequence to experiencing high blood pressure and not having known it is experiencing a major health emergency, such as a stroke. And many times people don't know that they're experiencing a stroke until after the stroke has happened. We want to avoid that. So it's execution. You have an idea of what we're trying to do, why it's best for you. Let's execute. Let's get those blood pressure monitors in our hands. The holiday is coming. It would be great if you could have a discussion around this topic with people that you trust and people that are willing to listen, and challenge yourselves to use that blood pressure monitor. And one good exercise that you can do if you get your blood pressure monitor before the holidays begin is monitor what your blood pressure is before having Thanksgiving dinner, monitor what it is after Thanksgiving dinner, then monitor what it is the next morning before you eat anything, what your blood pressure is. Hopefully, everything will be normal, and I hope there aren't any major surprises, but give it some thought.